Ladies and gentlemen, very welcome to today's peer distinguished lecture titled from artificial intelligence to hydrovoltaic intelligence. And it is a privilege to see so many distinguished guests, colleagues, and students together here today to explore the frontiers of science and technology. And this lecture series aims to bring together the brightest mind to discuss innovation that will shape our collective future. Today, we are joined by an exponential distinguished guest who stands at the intersection of sustainability and intelligent systems. To formally introduce our speaker and his remarkable achievement, I would like to invite our Vice President, Professor Wang Zhangkai, the Polytechnic University, to give an introduction.
Thank you very much, Professor Wang. Dear colleagues, students, it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce today's distinguished speaker, Professor GUO Wanlin. Currently, he is the Chair Professor of Mechanics and Nanoscience at Nanjing University of Aerospace and not aerospace, it's aeronautics and astronautics, Nanjing 航空和年大学. Professor Guo is an academician of Chinese Academy of Science. His work bridges the engineering safety, green energy, and intelligent system. Particularly, he developed hydrovoltaics as a promising approach for energy harvesting and also for self-powered material device. He also demonstrated that the water-driven electric signals at a nano interface can be used for sensing and also for brain-inspired computing. Professor Guo received many distinguished awards, including the National Natural Science Award of China, 国家自然科学奖, I think twice, right, as the first winner. And also the Culture Senior Research Fellowship and He Liang He Li Foundation Prize, and the international recognized Eric Racine Award in Mechanics. Currently, Professor Guo serves as the founding director of the Institute for Frontier Science at his university. Under his leadership, the institute has produced many high-impact breakthroughs, ranging from water-driven electricity generation to perovskite material to cooling technology. Actually, many papers published in Nature, I think, last year and also before last year, 2 Nature papers and also Nature Communication, Science Advances, National Science Review. Some of you probably recall that 2 years ago, in June, Professor Guo delivered plenary speech at PolyU. I think the title, related with today's title, I think that in that talk, he mainly focused on hydrovoltaics. I think over the past 2 years, many exciting work have been produced in Professor Guo's lab. I think all of you probably very exciting about his development. And today, he will share his insight. Okay. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Guo to deliver the distinguished talk. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. And it's my honor to be here and thank Professor, the two Professor Wang and President Wang, and also another Professor Wang. So many Wang or King in the university and in academical association. And is also they are my old friend. I have stayed visited professor here for about several months, about 20 years ago. So every time when I visited this university, this campus, it's find is like a family. And especially in Hong Kong, it's a very special city. And today we would like to talk about from the artificial intelligence to the hydrovoltaic intelligence. Do you know hydrovoltaic? Hydro, that means water. Voltaic, that means the electric unit potential, volt. So the hydrovoltaic means water-induced electricity. In a brain, the water. Where comes the brain electricity signal? The matrix here. So let's we see this universe has born in the 12 billion years ago. Begin from Big Bang. And from there, and we have the solar system that born about less than 5 billion years ago. And the sun is way born there. With hydrogen is a reaction to join together to form the heavier elements that emit the huge of energy for the past the 4.6 billion years. And it will still to stably emission and release energy scale for another 5 billion years in the future. So our Earth is here. You see the blue star. It's lucky to have the sunshine and have water and have our environment that absorbed the energy from water, from solar, and also kept the solar energy around in the environment. So the Earth have born our living thing. This is very, very the low proportionally in this huge universe. Till now, we only know the planetary. We have find the living thing, and this is we have intelligence because the living thing. So what's the intelligence? You can search in only search machine and engine. For example, here you put a 智能 or intelligence, it come out this result you find. So you see this kind of picture, what's the intelligence? So this is the first time, and we also discuss what's intelligence here with our Professor Jing Guangteng and the launch. And some of school and the newly born school is named the intelligence. So what's intelligence? So we see the living thing. The unicellular organism have born about 4 billion years ago. They can live in, they can harvest energy from the environment to survive. So that's a living intelligence to harvest energy and make efficient use of energy for living. So you see, intelligence is associated with energy. So we have the intelligence that we binding to energy. And when we come to the multicellular organism, we have the collective intelligence. A different cell work together, and different the body to work together, like the ants and this kind of thing. And we also involve to our human intelligence. That we have a cerebral cortex that have a very high level of intelligence to learning, reasoning, and problem solving. We can think, and also we can handle energy, and very high, you will see, very surprised efficiency of energy handle ability. And why the human and the living thing have this kind of intelligence? That's the physical basis, the neuron. This is the two central goal and Kahar, and observe the shade from the brain on the self-made microscope. He see, watch, and then draw the picture there. This kind of picture is not observed directly, but is combined, created from his observe under the low level of microscope. So that's a real scientific finding. So our science to understand the living thing enter a new age of neuroscience. They earned the Nobel Prize. And we also have the artificial neuron, the digital neuron, and also we have artificial neural network about 1 century ago. So the artificial intelligence today is an old thing, not a new thing. So the machine for artificial intelligence and automatic computer from the agent, the mechanical system that can plus the number, and that can use to make an analysis of the tide over the ocean. And we now interlease the earlier last century, we created this vacuum tube that we from the mechanical enter the electro age. And also we created this kind of huge machine with this vacuum tube. This is the tens of ton heaven, but very limited ability in computer. And we have the phenomenon frame. This is the operator and we processor and storage, memory, and this kind of thing. So we come to the next step of electric age. This is a transistor, semiconductor transistor. This you see a germanium here, a piece of germanium, and this is the angle of lattice, and with a thin cloud film here, and with a small gap and the type, and put it to the surface of the germanium. Surprising is finding there. The two gold electrodes can put a voltage, but the current can be cut off and can be turned on. about 80 times from off to on. That's the first semiconductor transistor have invented. That's also earned the Nobel Prize. Why we introduce these ugly and original devices? Because in your phone, in this microphone, in all these things, even behind, inside the screen, is work. These devices still there, the same, no changer. So this is a come to the 1980s. Turing, a very bright young scientist, and he write a long paper, 28-page paper, and he have a question: can this kind of machine think? He find this problem is too difficult to discuss. So he changed the original question into can the machine be as intelligent as the human being in some designed game? So that is the Turing game. So we have this Turing machine. We have at least the separated state computing machine, and we also the ability of the brain. By Turing's age, they think is about 15 power of 10 to memory the binary digits in our brain. And they also think it's like children, and it's learn and green and learn about to increase intelligence. So all these kind of things kept the same in the present artificial intelligence technology. So start from Turing, there are some TED is up and down, up and down. No, it's a sharp down because the huge money have collected and put, and also the computing ability have increased to a very high level. So we have the artificial intelligent tide, another high tide now. But you see, this kind of artificial intelligence is energy hungry. We consume a lot of electricity. Even then you see only a few countries, the whole country electricity consumption is higher than this one. It's listed to the fifth, and in all the 200 to 300 countries. So is that not intelligent enough? Because intelligent to use energy in high efficiency. And now we have a CPU, not difficult, and that Intel have difficult time. And NVIDIA have a GPU that's a parallel frame, the better than the serial frame of CPU, but it also have a memory wall. You see, this is a GP23. Everyone maybe use it. You see, training this model, the consumption of electricity and the thousands of gigawatt power hour. And so, and also the 19% of go to access the memory, to read and store. So it's electricity at the end of computing, at the end of AI. So why? Because the devices invented in 1947 still the same. So from the artificial intelligence to compare with nature or living intelligence, you see this. To my memory, and this type of artificial intelligence is that from this game, the AlphaGo, about 10 years ago, that the beat the human chips. This is the number I noted there in this year. You see that we have this kind of FET, the old thing. And but it comes down to the tens of nanometer. And a very high frequency, all the speeds. And you see about 4 gigahertz this. And it's also thousands of CPU, GPU, and cloud is used, and with Monte Carlo and artificial network, and also deep data machine learning is used, and it's based on the quantum mechanics zero. And the human side, the nature intelligence, you see the factor is there. This is the 10 about micrometer for our axon, the neural transfer signal along the axon. And so it's very, very slow, you see, to use ion to go through the membrane of the neuron, and you see compared to the gigahertz chips, very, very slow. But we have a neural network with this number of neural and synapses. And what's behind is only consume about 20 watt. And this huge machine is about this milliwatt. And so why? What's the zero basis for this system? Is hydrovoltaic. We can see. This is our student. He studied in his 3rd year in undergraduate year, and survived by me. And I asked him to build a model for our neural system, because there are million models have been the digital neuron, digital brain, digital neural network. But I have 3 limitations to him. The first, the system should use minimum energy, and also should act fast as possible, and also in limited time or space. This student is very smart. He writes these 3 requirements into mathematical constraint equation, and the neural model is confined by this constraint equation. They find surprise that the neuron should become a sphere, to form a sphere, to work at minimum energy consumption as fast as possible, and in limited space. So very interesting. They find that the human brain is a hierarchical structure of low linear, dynamic, and also time-denied system. And finally, the result is here. And for our AC chips, we increase the number of FET. That's the plus and 111 and 110 and 100. That's a plus. That's a linear increase. But in the neural system, we find the increase with number of neurons leads the ability of the system to memory or process the information, the increase and double exponential role. This is the result. A final result we show here. The human brain here is consumed. This is the energy consumption, and this is the ability per second to process the data. And you see our CPU and GPU about 125 watt energy consumption and the level of less than 14 power of 10 loop. But our brain is here over 18 power of 10, but only consume about less than 20 watt. And these are huge, most advanced, huge computer we have confined in this world. It's here. It consumes the gigawatt and less than the ability of the brain. So it's more surprised that the London have theoretically predicated that we to manipulate a unit of information will consume a memory energy stably to produce the information that Landau limits. And we find a human is only 1.26 times of the Landau limits. But you see our human artificial system, our machine, the most advanced one, you see this is 9 power of 10 or 9 order higher energy consumption than needed. So you can call this system intelligent to face this kind of factor. So we should cool down in the very hot AI tide, because university professor and doctor should be consigned the reasoning not to persuade the hot point in the whole society. This is very, very important role for university. So this is our system is not intelligent at all. We should go first, go further. Another one, can we create something to memory and processing together? Yes, we can have a resistant change or phase change material, or the ferromagnetic material, or the ferroelectric material. All these kind of material can handle and to store information together. They have the ability, but the ability is too low, you see. This is our requirement to perform our intelligent software, but the best record parameter for this 7 dimension, you see, is all far, far below the requirement for realistic application. And we also have the new kind of 2-dimensional nanomaterial. This kind of material have very, very surprise, different kind of surprise properties. And one kind of thing, the sleep ferroelectricity. That means that can slightly change and slide over another layer, can change the ferroelectricity state. That can create a different state with a small changer. We can manipulate this kind of changer. And our student also in reading for a study for his PhD degree, and Xiaofan Wang, he created very simple devices. You see, with a single layer graphene, the single atomic carbon shed put on the top of this hydrogen boron nitride, that's insulator. So this is the form of source and draw, and also a base. This is the transistor. 3 electron devices, as simple as the original devices FETU I have showed you. But it's surprised that these very simple devices not only turn on and off, 1 and 0, but it can create in these single devices in room temperature for no volatile states. That means the memory can be stored there, and over thousands of this kind of states. Can what this be used? We find it can be used to recognize a picture, and very high accuracy, more than 96% accuracy. So you see, surprise, one single device can be used as a chip, as a machine. But the problem is that we also, the student published this paper and earlier this year, and he continued work and extended the thousands of days to 10,000 of days. And we find the theoretical limit of energy consumption efficient is about 0.2 to 7%, 6%, much higher, several, about 80 order higher than the beta, the out of date GPU. But how while these devices together to integrated different, a few, 5, 10, these devices together to form an integrated circuit, we find the challenger. Not only at the devices, but also, you see, from beyond the phenomenal frame, beyond the Turing machine, and also challenger the Shannon information zero. So these devices challenge all the previous devices principle, as well as theoretical fundamental. So we should change, should revolution all the information zero, frame, and machine. You see, we should do this kind of thing. And President Ten have founded different schools in this university to combine the professor from different disciplinary together, to join together to do some advanced science here. How many professors consider this kind of thing? Go beyond all this kind of thing, from devices principle, from machine frame, from the Shannon discredited information zero. If the professor doesn't, then the student have the chance. So the student can become new hero in this century to push the technology forward. So what's the hydrovoltaic intelligence? Let's we see. We go back long ago and go back to this day, the Taylors, because he is the father of philosophy of the Western country, also the father of science of the Western country. He born about 640 years ago, the BC. And he have made great contribution to science, to philosophy, but he summarized all his wealth into one word: the best is water. In the East, we have Laozi. You see, he born this year. He have the same generation. This is the West father of science and philosophy, and this is the father of all our East countries. He have a word: 上善若水. The same word in English: the best is water. Why? We have the answer. This is the image of our brain. Use the functional mixing resinol. Use this one. And we find the water molecule moving the trace. He remain here. You see, this is our brain. The brain is water tube. But this water tube have surprise ability for information and for energy efficiency. You see how brain work so efficient in water. So we come to our nature intelligence. This is our brain. And we find the brain devices to 51 domain and find the neuron membrane, the ion channel, the potassium channel, the different kind of ion channel. And we have the neural and neural system there. But you see, our body, our brain, and in every single neuron, they contain about 70% of water. So the neuron, the brain work in water. So in our brain, not only the network, but also the hydrovoltaic there. So I called it should be hydrovoltaic intelligence. So we have some example show you. You can think yourself about this conception. This is the physical basis of a neuron. Why a neuron can process information? Because we find there ion channel on the membrane of a neuron. And the ion channel structure have been identified out in this year. The first atomic structure of the potassium ion channel by Marcano. And he earned Nobel Prize 5 years later because he found this atomic structure. So simple. And earned the Nobel Prize. Together with the water channel in our brain. And this is the one-dimensional channel from the membrane inside of cell to the outside of cell, conducting and selecting the ion. But we see this is a potassium and lithium ion channel that is found by Marcino's student. He become an independent PI in the Southwest Institute in America. That's a very famous institute in the biotechnology. And he find this ion channel like this way, also the one-dimensional. But in the digital age, we put this structure, protein structure into computer. We find the purple, the channel with the digital purple. We find a 3D structure here, not this simple structure. But you see, not only this one, but also this very beautiful. You see, is this beautiful? So beautiful should be used, should be have a usage. So what's the role? We find by very hard work, simulation a different kind. I also visited the institute to find the Dr. John, that's a Marcelo student there. And he lead me to his laboratory, to open the database to check, find there. And this I called is a grota or small hole to hold water molecule. Thank you. And we find in this state, the ion is off, can't go through. But we have potential across the membrane. The water can go to the center, and the two water molecules here, the channel open. The ion can go with very low energy barrel. So you see, is the hydration wave formed by 5 water molecules control the ion channel. So the beta is water. The ion is controlled by water and this channel. So we also find that this is a molecule channel, molecule water, but molecule water, or we can devise it into this kind of thing. And it's a quantum dynamic water. This kind of water molecules is living because we change the hydrogen with different oxygen atom there. So this is a real picture in our water. So depend to its quantum interaction of this living water molecule with the protein and this kind of thing in our living body, in our brain, our neuron, is very important. So, as limited by time, I go through fast to the channel, and we find this protein is controlled. The protein channel is so it's not go through, no channel there, but the protein can go through. Why? We find very surprised that because the living quantum dynamic water, that the protein come, the covalent hydrogen oxygen bond that are very far can switching open to let the protein go through and then close the door. So we call this the protein Colombo blockade effect in academic one. Or we saw the protein tunneling effect. So we find everywhere have this kind of effect in our body, in our brain, in our living thing, even in the bottom, in the cup of the water. So you see, the water is living, I think, is a fundamental basis for the living of the nature intelligence. That's why I call it a hydrovoltaic intelligence. And he can play the role in everything, a function in our body, and our eyes, our all this kind of thing. This thing is beyond there. Quantum dynamic of water interaction with protein, with DNA, with RNA, and all these kind of things. But we can't see this process with the most advanced device, the instrument in our laboratory, in this university, in all over the world laboratory. We can't see it. We can't do simulation by computer because this is the whole quantum dynamic simulation consume the computer ability much more than we have. So this is the real frontier of science. So how to power this kind of intelligence? We go through. This is the sound energy to reach the earth, and on each square meter, we have this energy absorbed from the sun. And this is the weather is we cooled and become heater there. More than 20 degrees from the bottom. And now we end here. So in the future, we may end here. Then maybe 20 degree heater than the present. So how we to use the energy, the solar energy arrive the earth, how to handle all the energy emission from the sun. This is the planetary civilization and the stellar civilization. And now we have this ability, you see. And this is the how energy reach the earth, but we now have only in all the human, with gas, with oil, with all the nuclear energy together, we have this number. So the human civilization is very in the very initial stage. So it's also the intelligent to use energy at this scale, or at this scale, not at this scale. So we need to work hard for this arm. So we have invented different kind of material to harvest the solar, the emission the thermal energy from evaporation, wind, raining, flow, and weaving by a small piece of nanostructural material. All this kind of thing we call is hydrovoltaic effect. And Zhuan Kai have make his very important contribution to this finding. And what's the hydrovoltaic effect? I call it the movement of water and the water molecule and the similar polar molecule and the solid liquid interface draw the electron moving with in one direction in the material to create electricity output. So we have the effect. We also publication this paper in Nature Nanotechnology. The editor ended as to we created word voltage, the hydrovoltaics, a new disciplinary that to new way to harvest the electricity from water have born. And now we have a more paper published every year. This slide. So it become a new field. And we have enhanced the energy output for nano watt for the drawing potential and for the evaporation potential. And we now have arrived this one drop later from the tap can create this volt electricity and this energy density. And also the evaporation, that's a continual process, can create energy and this volt and about this one. And now we come from 1 watt per square meter to 10 watt square meter. What's mean this number? Now this is energy to reach the earth, and this is the water evaporation absorbed all the water and bring the energy around us in the room, every time, everywhere. And we know this is the consumption of all the energy consumption over the world, and this very low level. And this is the Earth's energy imbalance in the last 10 years, about 0.8 watt per square meter. And now our evaporation electricity, we can about 10 watt per square meter, and drop later electricity and this kind of thing to harvest mechanical energy from the water system can reach more than 200 watt per square meter. So you see, we find a new way to handle, to use the solar energy from the sunshine and from the thermal environment. And so we also can place the hydrovoltaic and photovoltaic together, and we can create the perovskite solar cell in large scale and very stable and more than 25 years stable. And also we create the new method to create this, the PSC and meter scale and stable and silicon and day and light. And also we come to use the hydrovoltaic to the photovoltaic together to enhance the photovoltaic energy efficient and also create the new fresh water and to handle harvest the thermal energy that can't be used by the photovoltaic cell. And we can also to use the sunny energy day and night and square meter scale. You see, it created the electricity. This is the day and this is light, continue, stable there. And we also see this surprising view when I visited the very difficult and very poor region, most poor region in China, in mainland of China, GUO. And I see from the window of plane, it surprised me that I take from Huawei phone. And you see these terraces. This is a 100-kilometer large area. All the mountain is created in this kind of thing. That apply the why they can use this one. So we should use this challenger, and we have the hydrovoltaic effect. We have hydrovoltaics that can create electricity and can use with the ecology, and also we can understand, thank you, understand our nature intelligent and created the hydrovoltaic intelligence in this world. So do you think this kind of thing have value to do? Yes or no? Thank you. We need to create the new kind of material and hydrovoltaic material. That's my hope, to found a world research center of hydrovoltaics and to leading the research. And Zhankai have already worked together with us. We hope more and more professors and especially young scientists and young students and young doctors to join these efforts. And thank you. We showed this is Einstein's famous word. We think we have so advanced AI and different kind of technology, but Einstein, each leaf outside the window show our human sign is so narrow. So thank you. Welcome for your question.
Thank you, Professor Gao, for your really interesting lecture on the fundamental frontier, beautiful and multidisciplinary science on intelligence. So I think even to ask the right question is a challenge. So therefore, I would like to invite Professor Li Meng to chair this Q&A session.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, for giving me this opportunity to coordinate this Q&A session. And also, I would like to thank Professor Guo for giving us a very inspiring talk. And at the very beginning, I think Professor Guo actually talked about the nature index, right? In short, NI. And now I think I have a better understanding on my surname. Okay, so thank you for giving us such a talk. So I think now it's the Q&A session, and I would like to invite audience to ask questions. So are there any questions from the audience? Maybe I can kick off. So let me ask the first question. So I think it's a good idea to propose the hydrovoltaic energy conversion device. I think it's quite interesting. So my question is, are there any theoretical maximum efficiency for the hydrovoltaic energy conversion device? And if yes, then what's the possible energy loss in this hydrovoltaic energy conversion device? Okay, thank you.
What's the
theoretical maximum efficiency for the hydrovoltaic energy conversion device?
Yeah.
The Yeah, the maximum efficiency. Are there any theoretical maximum efficiency?
Maximum
Yeah.
efficient,
Yeah.
maximum efficient
Yes.
of the hydrovoltaic effect.
Yeah.
That's very good. And also the always calm question is if you have energy is always there. We can't create it energy. We can only convert energy from one type to another one.
Right.
From thermal, from the shine and into electricity and this type. So we always have energy efficiency for the transformation. But when a job later to create the electricity, the energy efficiency is about 10 to 20%.
Oh, I think.
And present.
Yeah.
But for the evaporating potential to create the energy from nature, water evaporation, it's hard to handle, to calculate the efficiency because you see the water circle and the thermal energy circle there. And so we can take some electricity from this. We can also have electricity from the air because there are humid water there away in our air. One side absorb the water and emission to give up the thermal energy. Another side, we can absorb the thermal energy to evaporating the water molecule into the air. So this is the water cycle and also the thermal cycle. So you difficult to calculate the efficiency.
Yeah.
And so you can take the electricity outside. But if you calculate all the energy absorbed by the water and escaped by the water, is all this kind of energy is calculated together as the basis. The energy efficiency about a very, very low. Is about a 0.001% now.
Yeah.
A very, very small fraction of energy we can take directly from the circle of this one because the water have very, very high energy to change his phase.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. I think it's new technology. So I think it's very natural, and at the very beginning, the efficiency may not be very high. But I think you have already demonstrated that the technology has very.
But you see, we can take about 10 watt per square meter now.
Oh.
This is not a small number.
Yeah. Okay.
This you see our solar cell put out there is a day and a night averagely is about 20 watt per square meter.
Right.
So we use the nature water evaporation there. We can take out about 10 watt per square meter. That's not a low level.
Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Ready.
Yeah. That can help a lot. Thank you so much. So are there any other questions from the floor? So. Oh yeah. Yes, please.
Professor, it's interesting, and I'm not in this field. I'm in just the information systems area. Now, in Hong Kong, I live in the mid-levels. In the last few days, I have to switch on the humidifier, a machine from Japan, which I use for 20 years, really long-lasting. Now, Hong Kong is so humid. Can I be results-oriented? In 5 years' time, your Nanjing University group give me a small machine instead of the humidifier. I use this machine, this artificial intelligence whole hydrovoltaic in HI machine to convert the water energy into a kind of, say, storage, which I can use at home. So I don't know whether I'm dreaming about it, but that is what I can perceive from your talk in terms of the
Your question is that where come the energy for hydrovoltaic? Does that mean?
now every day I use the dehumidifier. Hong Kong is so humid, so
Yeah.
80%. So
Yeah,
so it's a lot of water
yeah.
inside
Lot of
my
water in air.
in the air.
Yeah.
So I have to use the dehumidifier every day.
Yeah.
So takes the spend the money. So how can we, following this research in a few years' time, got some kind of device, okay?
Yes.
Hydrovoltaic
That's a very
intelligence device.
That's a great question. Yes, we can absorb the thermal energy because on the Earth, when the average temperature increase 1 degree, the evaporation of water from the Earth's surface increase about 6 to 12%. So that we get hotter, the more and more the water, the higher the relative, the humidity is increase in our environment. That's very important. And this water, in the air, that brings the thermal energy. So also we have more and more energy in our air if the Earth become hotter and the temperature increase. So we can create a very thin, like this paper,
maybe.
like this paper. And on one side, we can have material absorb the water from the air, the humidity. And another side is the evaporation occur there. And we have the electron between this membrane. And then we put there about this square, this side, we can charge our mobile phone directly now in our laboratory. And the energy power density about 10 watt per square meter. So that's not a far future. That's a near future. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. I think it's a very interesting technology. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. So any question from the floor? Yeah, maybe. Yes. Yeah, do you have a question? Yeah. First one. Yeah, maybe.
Professor Guo, you understand I'm working on space exploration, right? I just want some kind of exploration kind of question. You know, for Chang'e 7, people will go to moon to check if there is a kind of really what type of water on moon, right? So if we do find something there, can we think in the future we can use those type of water for us to produce electrical power for space usage? That's my question. Use water on the moon to do this kind of energy production.
Yes, it's because water is a way moving, is a way contain some energy, bring some energy. And the molecule moving, the dynamical molecule, that's the heat energy, the source of heat energy. So the movement of water, not only water, all the molecule, all kind of molecule bring energy. But water very special, and in our environment around the Earth, about the 95% of the molecule in our the environment is water. So the water is the most important thing around us, bring the thermal energy. So we can harvest the thermal energy from the water movement. There's
So-
also the water also moving in our brain, in our neuron. So you see, not only water molecule, water is a way quantum dynamic, the living thing. The hydrogen and the oxygen are we the changer there, not a fixed hydrogen and two hydrogen and one oxygen. So the age should moving from molecule technology to quantum age.
That means if we can find some small amount of water on the moon, okay, out space or
Yeah.
on Mars, we still can use them to increase energy harvesting, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
because the increase of the Earth's average temperature by 1 degree, the about 6 to 12% of more water in air. And the each water molecule and bring more energy, more thermal energy because they're moving faster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Some very interesting terminology about three things in my mind. One thing is artificial intelligence, one thing is natural intelligence, and you propose a new one, hydrovoltaic intelligence. So do you think the hydrovoltaic intelligence will be the candidates to simulate the human or the natural intelligence in the future? And if that happened, in terms of, because you talk about two things, one is the capacity, one is the efficiency, energy efficiency.
Yeah.
So if it could be the candidate to simulate the human intelligence or the natural intelligence, what will be the form of the machine? And how far
Yeah.
should
I have an image for the future of science and technology. Even our human civilization is moving forward from a silicon age. We know we our FET, our computing is based on semiconductor, especially and the typical silicon. And our human being and the living thing used to be called the carbon intelligent. I don't think so. I think it's water based, but not the carbon. Carbon as a frame in our brain, in our neuron, but the water is living there. So in the future, the two very important things. One, to understand, have a better understand our human being, our brain, our mechanism of our brain, and to handle our health care and this kind of thing. Another way to learn from the brain, from the silicon to hydrovoltaic age, to use the water, especially the quantum dynamic water, interaction with the protein, DNA, and this kind of thing to have the intelligence of our human being, and the created devices not only use a solid material but also water. So in the future, maybe our computer, just like us, as contain 70% of water. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Professor Wang.
Thank you very much, Professor Guo, for the wonderful talk. Very inspiring. I learned a lot. I think last year I also attended your talk, and this time I think you have more things to add. Just a follow-up question on this one. You said so, like in our brain, in our body, and we have a lot of water, 70% and more. And there are also a lot of other species, like basically it's an electrolyte. And you have also some other potassium, calcium, and many other species that all have the charge. So, and when you're talking about the water and also have some proton and things, what's the other, the influence, the effect of other ion species, like express with
the other ion. Yeah, that's important because we know the ion channel now we find in our neuron system is mainly the potassium and the sodium and the gallium and this kind of heaven ion. This ion is a weak behavior as the traditional zero and the Newton mechanics. And but the water, the protein, and this kind of protein is the most smallest ion of all the ion. This is quite different than the traditional ion like potassium. Every day we have salt, put salt in our meal. We take some potassium, magnesium, this kind of ion to supply us. But this kind of protein is a behavior quite different than the traditional. This ion is a whole quantum behavior, but its behavior not like the electron and the photon and these subatomic particle. So it's quite different from the traditional quantum particle and quite different from traditional the big the ion. So it's quite a new thing. And so I think is a chance from protein to find the matrix of our life. Also, this kind of protein behavior and is combined, is coupling with the electron and the chemistry reaction and all our energy transition, all this kind of thing is have hydrogen, the protein and the electron coupling. This thing I think is very important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Wang. So any other questions from our colleagues or from our students? Yes.
Yeah, Professor Guo, that's a wonderful talk. I came from material side and I learned your work in material side, and today you deliver this hydrovoltaic intelligence. That's very impressive because you think about that human intelligence. This part has been studied by the biology side or side that's for so long, and it's so difficult to learn and so difficult to understand and progress, etc. So my question is like compared to the biological side, people learn about the human intelligence. About that's also, of course, that's a water based as a solvent unit, right? So what's the difference of that one to like the hydrovoltaic intelligence? It seems to me more like the artificial intelligence comes from people's learning in the human intelligence, and then go to artificial intelligence, and now of course that's you get this hydrovoltaic intelligence. That's very impressive. But I want to know what's say this one and the human intelligence. What's the difference? And you know, there's so many exciting science there. Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. The different disciplinary fields have a different understanding of the same phenomena. And so we also pursuing the factor from different viewpoint. So biological, the physical and material scientists, and I myself is a mechanics. And so the mechanics can be engineering fundamental, but also the mechanic, the Newton mechanic, the thermodynamic mechanic, the magnetic electricity dynamics, and also the quantum mechanics. This is the serve as the fundamental of all the nature science. So the mechanics from fundamental of science and the fundamental of engineering, we have different view. And so now we have also the biological scientists have make million observation from cell to neuron to ion channel to DNA, protein, and to all these kind of things, from more and more clear and micro world. But we can't understand the nature intelligence ourselves by go to the bottom. You can see each of atom in the neuron, in our brain. You can't understand it. So I think the scientists come to a stage need to unite it not only in a specific circle, biological, physical, material. We should join all the science from different fields together to study it. So I think the interdisciplinary view is necessary to go forward. So I think you as a material science or doctor or student should have a good chance to create a new generation material, the hydrovoltaic material. And also you talk about what's the difference between the artificial intelligence, the nature intelligence, and the hydrovoltaic intelligence. And I think the artificial intelligence is not intelligent enough from the physical basis, from the transistor effective, the field effective transistor to the frame of the on-off and even the quantum calculation, quantum information zero. This is not enough. And so we should, that's quite different from the nature intelligence. Why we have a new word, a hydrovoltaic intelligence? Because the hydrovoltaic between our artificial one and the natural one. We learn more about the nature intelligence from the hydrovoltaic view, go down to the quantum interaction of living water with the protein and this kind of living material. And but we can understand, have find the role, how the nature intelligence work, and to inspire our artificial technology to follow the nature intelligence, to create another generation of artificial intelligence. So we call it hydrovoltaic intelligence. That's why.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Guo. Because of the time, I would like to see whether we still have any questions from the floor. If you, yeah, maybe it's the last one. Yeah. Oh, you also, okay.
Well, thank you very much for your wonderful talk. I come from the field of artificial intelligence, and I see one of your slides mentioned that actually solves one of the fundamental problem in our field of artificial intelligence, because many of the AI models we build right now, they are very energy heavy, and in order to provide high computational power, it needs to consume a huge amount of energy, but human brains, they can do the same amount of thing with much fewer energy. But I'm just a little bit curious about how hydrovoltaic intelligence help resolve the problem. How does it significantly reduce the amount of energy needed while producing still the same level of performance? Like they will have very high potential to be deployed on robots and things like that, because robots spend quite a lot of energy in even identifying a human, but humans spend much less energy on that. If hydrovoltaic intelligence has an application on that, I think that's very transformative to the robotics industry. So what is the underlying mechanism for that?
From these kind of things and the energy efficient and the robot.
Yeah.
And the robot have, I think, several essential issues. The one is the touch, is how to feeling the price, how the feeling the thermal, the feeling everything kind of thing. And that is the one. Another one is the brain, the control, the processor. And so the robot use all the kind of information, the chips there. So that is not changer. So the robot use the same FET in its controller as the computer and the mobile phone.
Yeah.
So the robot have a mechanical devices, and this is kind of different. That's we have a we have a industry robot, and we have the robot like a human being, and different kind of robot have created a work in our factory for tens of years. So the energy, one is the energy efficient, another is the control, and the accurate. This is you see the model and different kind of model. That is not only the hardware, but also the software is make a very fast advances in the last decade.
Yes, but actually I'm asking about how does hydrovoltaic intelligence help further reduce the computational power in order to make these realize? This is what you introduced just now. I feel very curious about this.
Yeah, so if you only use one mobile phone, one computer, one robot controller, this the energy consumption is not a problem. But the data center, a huge data center created challenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because of the time, I think we need to end this Q&A session. So let's thank Professor Guo again. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Guo, for wonderful and inspiring lecture. And I would like to invite Professor Wang to present the souvenir on behalf of the pair. Yeah, thank you. This is the end of the lecture. Thank you all for attending this lecture. Thank you.